So the benchmark consists of two surveys. What can I expect from part one?
Well, part one is all about the data. It's about what is happening to your employees during their time with you, from initial application to leaving, and everything in between. By splitting up the data into groups of men, women, ethnic minorities, and white employees, we can get a real sense of what is happening to different groups within your organisation. In the survey, we ask information about your workforce profile, recruitment metrics, workforce impact measurements such as rates of bullying and harassment, monitoring disclosure rates, absence rates, maternity return rates, turnover rates. And then we look at the progression rates of different groups. And finally, we look at customers, clients, and service users if you have such people.
How should I approach completing part one?
Yeah, I have a couple of hints for people actually completing part one. First, you have to choose a year period for your data. It doesn't matter what that year is, as long as it's fairly recent, so I'd say within the last 2 to 3 years. Specifically, and ideally the most recent year period that you can get the data for. For many, this will be their last reporting year, which varies between organisations. So at BITC, we run a July to June financial year. Some use a calendar year, others a more traditional April to March year. For some of the more sophisticated organisations, or those with more sophisticated reporting systems, they can just pull off a report of the last 12 months whenever they want. For the rest, you might have to choose a specific and standard reporting period. It's important to state what period you have used at the beginning of the survey and be consistent with the year you use as you complete the survey. Secondly, say please read the questions carefully. We try to use plain English where possible. Some of the explanations are long because we really want to avoid confusion. For extra clarity, we have produced a selected worked example spreadsheet, which gives you example calculations to some of the questions. This is quite a useful resource. You can use it to double check your answers. Also, I would say don't worry about not being able to answer all of the questions. This survey is only in its second year. We understand that not everyone tracks and monitors all of the data. We encourage you to work towards 100% completion, but for now, do what you can.
Any other tips?
Yeah, I do. There's one more thing really. Just do some basic error checking when you've calculated all your data. For example, if the number of part-time workers plus the number of full-time workers doesn't add up to the total number of workers in your organisation, then there's something wrong with your calculation. So just take a few seconds to check your answers in a kind of logical way and nip any errors in the bud.
What about part two, the input survey? What does that mean?
Yeah, part two is about inputs, so policy and practice. It's really putting the work you do into context. It has about 8 areas, so we have questions on leadership, the business case for diversity, and your diversity strategy. We then have questions on recruitment partners, methods you use to remove bias in the recruitment process. We then have a series of questions on workplace policy and practice, things like flexible working, equal pay, things like that. And then questions on career progression, so what do you do to monitor your talent pipeline, and what do you do to ensure everyone progresses equally or has a fair chance of progression. We then look at supplier diversity and inclusion in procurement, customers, clients, consumers, and service users. And finally, for global organizations, we have an optional non-scored section called Globalizing Diversity, which is about the challenges of working in a kind of global context. A couple of areas are only for Opportunity Now members, so equal pay, flexible working, maternity and adoption leave questions are only for people completing the gender survey. And for Extra Opportunity members, the community investment section is only about the work you do with the community and the kind of ethnicity context of that.
What tips do you have to help me complete part two?
Yeah, again, I have a few tips for helping people complete part two. So firstly, there are several types of question. Many are tick box, but there are about 25 questions which we ask for written explanations, so narrative responses. For those, we have a set of strict word limits to your answers, so the system will not allow you to enter any more words once you've reached the limit. So really, we want very focused answers to these questions, not tomes. So to help you, we have clarified the guidance this year, giving you more of an idea about what we use to mark your responses. So this will really help you focus your answers. Also, the word limits are not a target to aim for. They are the maximum length an answer can be. Be succinct, be focused. Many questions can be answered in 10, 20, 50, 100 words. Last year we had one organisation who gave us a 7,000 word answer, and they got 0 for this answer because they made no attempt really to actually answer the question. So really just read the guidance and read the question very clearly before answering. And finally, some people end up being quite harsh on themselves when it comes to the tick box questions. We encourage people to answer the questions within the spirit of the survey. We're not saying lie or embellish, we're just saying give us a call if you're not quite sure if your work fits with the way we've structured the survey, and we'll tell you how to answer the survey to the best of your ability.
Do you have any general tips to help me complete the surveys?
Yes, I do. I would firstly say spend 30 to 60 minutes reading all the advice and guidance before beginning. Be familiar with our guidance because it's really designed to help you answer the surveys in the most efficient way possible. Secondly, I'd say start early and seek out the data fairly quickly. Occasionally it can be a bit hard to get hold of because you have to ask a different team or something, and that can cause delays. I'd say set up a working group or identify who will you'll need to ask or consult as you're completing the survey. Again, I'd say seek advice and support from your diversity advisor or the benchmarking manager, which is me. We can be reached by phone or email. And I would also say complete a draft submission offline using the Word document version of the questions, which can be downloaded from our website now. And the online survey doesn't have to be completed all in one go, so you can come back as many times as you want, so you don't have to just sit down for a while and do it all. You can save as you go along and come back later.